Hello everyone, and thanks for coming back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Vanta2.5 bind and fly, featuring a Vant 1103 7650 kV motors, HQ 65mm T-style props, F4 flight controller with an OSD, with a 2 amp BEC, 13 amp 4-in-1 ESC, smart audio controllable VTX from 25 milliwatts to 200 milliwatts, and the Runcam Nano 2 FPV camera. Comes with a 100 microfarad capacitor, but I can't read the voltage. Mine's the FR Sky version, so it has the FR Sky XM Plus right down here. And would you look at that, the battery lead comes secured to the frame, magic tape to hold down your motor wires, gummy pad to rest your battery on, 2 screws in each motor, no screws in the props. Also comes with 6 extra props and an extra battery strap. Bottom plate is almost 3.5 millimeters thick. The arms are approximately 4 millimeters wide. Top plate looks like it's 1.5 millimeters. From motor post to motor post, it looks about 116 millimeters. Mine weighs just a touch over 55 grams. I flew it on this GNB 3S 520 milliamp battery, which brings the weight to about 97.5 grams. As we get started in this flight, what a gorgeous day we have had. After all that wind kind of blew through across the country, we have had really nice days. The weather hasn't been necessarily warm like summer warm, but for December, it's been pretty dang nice. And this was a nice surprise. I was unaware of this company. Let me know if you've heard them before. Somehow, I just haven't heard of their products. What you're going to find is a well-tuned machine running Betaflight 4.0.6. So it doesn't have all the new features of 4.1, but I think when something flies well, I don't tend to bother to upgrade them. If I've got a problem or if I'm just wanting to tinker, I get it. Upgrade it if you want to experience some new features, maybe the stick overlays. But this one comes pretty well tuned, and I would say unless you're a tuner to where you're going to tweak the tune out for yourself, then I would just leave it alone, have some good fun, and just fly it around. And I was pretty surprised. I was pretty surprised in a lot of different things. One, they secured the battery lead down. This is the first bind and fly that has come to this channel that has had the battery lead secured down. I've been saying that for years. Now all of a sudden we got a company who's doing it, and that's awesome. We've also got a very thick bottom plate and almost 3.5 millimeters thick. So that should provide some pretty good durability. Top plate, as I said in the quick roll, is 1.5. We've got some pretty high performing motors, so if you're a builder out there and you're looking at 1103s, I mean, you can see how it flies. Judge for yourself, judge the weight of the quad, what you're looking to build, and take a look. Also, the flight stack comes in at, I think, $42, and that's really good. I mean, it's a 13 amp ESC, so if you're wanting to run 4S on something, probably not the best candidate. But I thought it performed very, very well, and that flight stack at that price point, this company just surprised me. They surprised me with this quad. I'd never heard of them before, and if you do happen to go to their website, because they don't do a tracker or anything like that, if you decide to make a purchase, if you could put in the message window or in the notes section, put NBFG. That's Nick Burns, Frank Girl. And then they'll know that you saw my video, you heard me talking about their products, and that you decided to go check them out. Now back to this flight. You've probably seen me do at least one thing that I don't tend to do with the micro of this size, and that's go from the chimney side of the house to the shed side of the house. That's something that usually takes a little bit more power, a little bit more oomph, a little bit more precision, because you've got a narrow window, and now we've got all that scraggle over there, so I have to be especially careful. And unfortunately, this thing, it took a couple beatings when I did that a few times because I didn't hit the window right, and I didn't notice I was coming down on the scraggle. So I have some good crash testing falling from that height. I didn't hit the shed, thankfully. You're probably seeing the low battery warning, and I've flown this enough to know about where I need to come in. You could probably, if you're flying GNB batteries, set your low voltage warning to 3.4 volts per cell, and if you land really quickly, that should be fine. Of course, you could set it to 3.45 or something of that nature, but we're going to get over 3 minutes of flight as well, and that's especially rare. For those of you that come to the channel, you know this already. For me, and when it comes to micro quads running 3S, they're typically under 3 minutes. So we're looking at some pretty, in my opinion, well-performing and efficient motors. As you see there, we come in and we land at 3 minutes and 10 seconds. We go back to the OSD screen to check the voltage. We're at 3.6, so good shape for the battery. We could have flown just a touch longer. So one of the things I've been doing with frames, and this is a especially thick one, is testing the flexibility. You know, we've talked about with the carbon and the weave, and we've kind of come to the conclusion, I do believe, that this top layer that we look at, it doesn't tell us much. It's really just wallpaper. The weave can look any old which way, but so I'll give you a shot of that kind of if you want to look at the weave. But let's go back to the stiffness. Try to put my hands here, my thumbs here in the center. But it is, I want to say like a rock, But as you can see, if I put enough force, I do get a tiny bit of flex in there. But this is a super stiff frame, and I think that leads to part of its flyability is having good stiff carbon helps you tune, and the motors aren't vibrating extra because of, you know, anything going on with the wind or anything of that nature. Look at that prop. That must have been the prop that took the main beating when it fell out of the tree. See that crease right there? I just flattened it out and continued to fly it. I want to draw your attention to a few of those little details. You may have noticed them also in the quick roll. Our VTX, our antenna down here, is secured pretty well in this TPU print. I didn't have any problems with it coming out. Matter of fact, if you pull on it, it doesn't want to come out. So if you do want to change out the antenna, you're probably going to have to use some finesse to get that out. But that's a good thing. You know, we want those things secured down. I mentioned it in the quick roll. First bind and fly I've had, and this is a true bind and fly. Comes with the receiver of your choice. All you have to do is bind it up. Set your rates if you have preferred rates. Set your modes for your switches, like your arming and your different modes you might use. Maybe you want to use turtle mode. Be careful with that as always. Maybe move the OSD around. This would be set up and ready to run in less time than it would take you to charge a single battery. So that's something else to kind of... We don't see true bind and flies a whole lot. And usually when we do, they're all-in-one boards with the receiver built into them. We get a lot of plug and flies, but we don't tend to get true bind and flies like this. And that's something else. I think it's a premium product without a real premium price, in my opinion. But we've got our receiver. It's tucked in here nice and neatly down at the bottom. You can see how the bind button is down under here, and that's probably my #1 complaint in binding it up, is that you have to get something between there and to press that button. And because it's secured to the capacitor right here, and then down to the frame right there, and then you've got your antenna wires coming over the top, that can be a little bit of a strain. It's not bad by any stretch. You just kind of finagle this wire down, if you can see my fingernail there, and then get whatever it is you've got and kind of feel for the button and press it down and hold it, and then you bind it up. Of all the things to complain about, that's the thing I'm complaining about. I thought the video reception performed pretty well. I am flying on 200 milliwatts in that footage that you did see. As I said, I had a number of crashes. I should mention the antennas. They've got everything nice and tidy in here. This probably isn't optimal for the optimum, you know, that last nth degree of range, because the further out they are, the more likely you are to get that little bit extra of range. So if you're flying, you know, as far as your receiver can possibly take you, you probably want to change that mounting. But I think for most of us who are flying within a football field or maybe even 2 football fields, it's probably going to be fine. The FrSky XM Plus has pretty good range. It's well-tested receiver. Of course, they have a host of other receivers that are available on this product as well. So now that we're here to the end and we have our diehards that are tried and true and truly interested in every little thing, I'm curious on what you guys know. Those that come back to the channel regularly, or you're an avid quad pilot, what are your priorities? You know, if you had to rank them 1 through, say, 5 or something, construction, durability, performance, pre-tuned, how important is pre-tuned? And when I'm talking about construction, I'm talking about little things like securing the battery lead down. How important are these things to you? And if you could, or if you would, make a list of those things. And if one thing is way above all the others, you know, you could put, you know, distant second or distant fourth, whatever your categorization might be. Because I'm very curious. It's one of those things that I think that will help me and highlight something that might fit those categories when I'm flying these things, so that I can be sure to relay that information to you guys who do watch the videos. Yeah, I enjoyed my time with this. I think it's really good. I'm if you can't tell, I'm impressed with this. I had a lot of fun flying it. And if you do go to the website, the Vanta2.5, and you do place an order, please put in the code or the notes section NBFG, Nick Burns F Girl, Nick Burns Frank Girl, just those letters that I'm sounding out there. Then they'll know that you visited their website because you saw this video. And it may also encourage them to make other micro products. They do have another 2.5 inch or 65 millimeter quad out there called the Kira 2.5. If you want to go take a look at that, same price point as this one, as $127 with a receiver. They also have selections where you can select extra parts if you wanted to right out of the gate. Make sure you leave your priorities. I'm really interested in what you guys prioritize as your top, 5 or so. And if, like I said, if other things are a distant 3rd or 4th or 5th or whatever the case might be, I know we're shooting for everything. We want it all. We always want it all. But if you had to rank them, what would they be? And if you have any other comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in that section down below. I appreciate your time. And thanks for watching.